My name is Heidi. I'm sitting in my office, the soft hum of the air conditioner filling the silence. A young recruit had just pointed at me on stage, saying they joined because of me. That moment was a culmination of a journey filled with pain, betrayal, and ultimately, triumph. It made me reflect on how I got here, from a girl cast out by her family to an agent making a difference. I grew up in a well-to-do family in Denver. My father, Mr. Thompson, was a high-profile corporate lawyer, often involved in big money cases. He was a man of strict rules and high expectations, always concerned about his reputation and the family's standing in society. My mother, Mrs. Thompson, was a traditional housewife who followed my father's lead. She was more passive, but also quick to enforce the family's image. My sister, Lily, was 22 at the time, and she was pre-law, just like my father. She walked with an air of confidence, believing that the world would bend to her will. Meanwhile, I was 19, studying sociology and working 2 part-time jobs at a local coffee shop and a bookstore. I was losing sleep over the things I discovered in my father's study. I found some documents that linked a major construction company he was working with to a series of illegal labor practices and environmental violations. One evening, Lily cornered me in the kitchen. "You're an embarrassment, Heidi. You always make things more complicated than they need to be." "It's exhausting," she said calmly, as if stating a well-known fact. I tried to explain that what I saw was wrong, but she wouldn't listen. A week later, when I came home from work, I found the locks changed. There was a trash bag of my clothes on the porch, damp from the sprinkler. My mother was standing behind the living room curtain, pretending not to notice me. When I knocked on the door, she didn't answer. Instead, I got a text message from her that read, "This is what happens when you don't respect our family's boundaries." They said I was unstable and overly emotional, but I knew I was just waking up to the truth. I took one of the files, the most damning one, and reported it to the appropriate authorities through proper channels. I didn't go to the press, and I didn't confront my father directly. 2 weeks later, I received a call from a recruiter. At first, I thought it was a prank, but then I remembered what my grandmother used to say, "Sometimes, when a door closes, a bigger one opens." I left Denver without a dramatic goodbye. I packed a backpack, grabbed 2 textbooks, and a folder full of student loan paperwork that I never got to use. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I needed to build a new version of myself that they couldn't touch. The first bus out of town left at dawn. I watched the city disappear behind me. By nightfall, I had chosen a new name, Ava Reed. In a bathroom stall at a bus station outside Salt Lake City, I cut my hair with a pair of scissors. I watched the long brown strands fall into the sink, symbolizing the end of the old me. I registered at a small day labor agency in a nearby town. I slept wherever I could find safety, sometimes in a shelter and sometimes in the back of a 24-hour grocery store. I worked various odd jobs, from cleaning offices before they opened to delivering packages on a borrowed bike. Every dollar I earned went towards night school. I signed up for online courses under a scholarship I wasn't sure I qualified for, but I passed every exam with flying colors. One night, a man named Ryan left a card for me at the job placement center. The card had a government extension and a sticky note that said, "You did the right thing. Let's talk." I carried the card in my wallet for weeks, afraid it was a trap. But deep down, I knew it was a chance. When I finally called, Ryan said, "We've been watching you. You might belong here." A month later, I was on a train to Washington. I arrived at Quantico, and it was a grueling experience. It broke many people, but it also burned away the old me. I learned to operate on little sleep, shoot without hesitation, and blend into the background. My scores were average at first because I never sought attention, but that became my advantage. After graduation, I was assigned to a unit that dealt with human trafficking cases linked to financial laundering rings. I spent years analyzing patterns, cross-referencing documents, and following the money trail. I moved through different cities, using different aliases to keep my work clean and my identity hidden. One night, while scrolling through preliminary reports in the Seattle field office, I saw a familiar name. Lily was representing a client in a case involving a front company tied to a major financial laundering operation. I knew the name of the company was a fake, and I knew exactly who she was. I decided to attend the pre-trial hearing. I slipped into the back row, dressed in a simple black suit. No one noticed me at first. Lily was sitting at the defense table, looking confident and composed. Her client was a stone-faced man with suspected ties to a criminal cartel. During the hearing, the judge glanced towards the gallery and spotted me. "Counsel," she said slowly, "is that Agent Ava in the back row?" The words hit like a thunderbolt. Lily's face twisted in confusion and then recognition. My mother was also there, sitting a few rows ahead, holding a rosary. I didn't say a word. I just sat there, back straight, hands folded. I wasn't there to intervene, I was there to be seen. When the hearing adjourned, I left through the side door, not taking off my coat because I wasn't hiding anymore. 3 days later, I received an invitation from a distant cousin to a family dinner. I knew it was a ploy, but I went anyway. The house looked smaller than I remembered. My mother greeted me at the door with a forced smile, and my father stood stiffly in the kitchen. Lily was sitting at the far end of the table, a glass of wine untouched in front of her. The dinner was filled with strained conversation. They asked about my work and commented on the weather. Then, halfway through the meal, my mother cleared her throat. "We were wondering if you know someone in the DA's office who could take another look at this case," she said. My father added, "It's just an informal conversation." I looked at them calmly and said, "If I weren't with the Bureau, would I even be at this table?" The silence in the room was deafening. My mother's eyes welled up, and my father straightened his tie. Lily finally looked at me, and I could tell she wasn't expecting me to say no. I folded my napkin, placed it beside my plate, and walked out. Then, a grainy video clip of me from when I was 20 surfaced. I was drunk and laughing, in a vulnerable state. I knew exactly who had it. An old boyfriend had threatened to release it after I broke up with him. The media went crazy. They called me reckless and unprofessional, but they didn't call it what it was, an attempt to silence me. My father called me, yelling, "You're dragging our name through the mud. This is attention-seeking and vindictive." I replied evenly, "I carried our name through the fire alone while you let it burn me." He hung up. I didn't let the scandal break me. Instead, I used it as motivation. I wrote a bill, the Federal Family Integrity Protection Bill, to protect whistleblowers and public servants from family-related coercion and intimidation. I sent the draft to a colleague in the Ethics Committee. A month later, I was invited to testify on Capitol Hill. I wore a simple navy suit, no makeup, and carried only my notes. I told the committee, "I'm not here to name names. I'm here because the most dangerous pressure can come from our own families." The room was silent, and many members nodded in recognition. The bill passed with bipartisan support. Reporters started calling me a reformer. I did it not for the recognition, but for the girl I used to be and for all those who might face similar situations in the future. One day, Lily showed up at my office. She looked small and vulnerable. "I was jealous of you," she said. "You were always true to yourself, and I hated that." I told her, "You didn't break me. You just showed me how easy it was for people to abandon me." She nodded and left quietly. I also launched the Witness Support Network, a national initiative for whistleblowers facing family retaliation. At a forum for this initiative, I saw my mother in the back row, her eyes glassy. She didn't say a word, but she stayed until the end. As I walked home that evening, the air was cool. I didn't check my phone, and I didn't look back. I knew that the silence I once feared had become a source of strength. I had turned my family's rejection into a force for good, and I was just getting started.